Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The Russian offensive in Kharkov continues. We have a few articles here coming from the Americans, from the Ukrainians, from the Russians, and they will tell us how many Russians are fighting in Kharkiv, Kharkov. Why do I say that? Kharkiv, Ukrainian, Kharkov, Russian. So I want to be friendly because that's my nature. So we're gonna find out how many Russian soldiers are fighting on that little front on Kharkov. I also have two maps to show you and analyze where the situation is developing, what's going on over there. We have some information on Ukraine's lack of troops. We have like manpower shortage. We have another article with Budanov, the chief of the intelligence of agency, military, I think it's agency of Ukraine, Budanov, and he's going to say on one article that the situation is stabilized, and the other one is going to say no, the situation is almost critical. I think it's critical. And we're going to have an assessment on how or what would be the goals of Russia in this matter, which is why do they start this offensive in Kharkov now? And for the obvious reason, spreading the forces. But that means you have the forces, they don't have the forces. So let's start with the first article, which is from two media outlets, ABC News, and then you have here The Independent as the same title, the same information. Ukraine says 30,000 Russian soldiers attacking amid border offensive in Kharkiv region. Ukraine said it is battling 30,000 Russian soldiers at the border near Kharkiv, as thousands of civilians have been evacuated due to heavy fighting in the region. So where is that Kharkov? So this is the map of Ukraine. This is where the direct contact occurs, and here is Kharkov. This is the oblast. So this is a Russian map, so we're going to have Kharkov. And here is where they are advancing, trying probably to break through and have the Ukrainians take some of their troops from other areas and ship them over here, or maybe from here. I read an article saying that the Russians are preparing an invasion now in Sumy. So from Kharkov, we're going to go to Sumy next. The National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine told ABC News on Monday that Russia is using 30,000 of its 50,000 soldiers amassed at the border to attack, as the Kremlin continues its new northeast offensive. So it continues its offensive. All right, so that's one. Next one is the same piece of information coming from The Independent, different authors though than the previous article, and is the same information. Next one from Business Insider: Russia is exploiting Ukraine's lack of manpower to thin out the front line and seek a breakthrough, military expert says. So that means this is the tactic. If you know that you have a big, as I always said, the Russians are using maybe 5% of their manpower potential. That is, they're not yet at 30 million potential man fighters. Russia has a population of about 145 million people. You do all the calculations and you're gonna end up with at least 30 million people that could fight against the West or whomever. And the Russians probably are using 600,000 fighters, not necessarily their soldiers. Remember, these guys are also volunteers, some of them, so it's not the military per se, it's volunteers, not the ones that are professional, military, army officials, personnel. So they have also the guys from Luhansk, Donetsk, and all these things that also made I would say 600,000 people, 700,000 people, 800,000 people, but that's not how you fight a war. And you have more reserves than these guys who half of their country migrated, not wanting to fight or whatever reason could be. And you're going to overwhelm them with the personnel. What's going to happen? NATO has to bring you guys in, which is the Europeans, and the Americans are just going to help from far away. The same with the Brits. They're going to be helping from far away. You, on the other hand, will be next to Tsar Alexander II. All right, let's move on, if you know what I mean. Russia is exploiting Ukraine's manpower shortage, so they don't have people, as I said many times before. A war analyst told the New York Times. So this guy says that Russia is thinning out the front line to try to break through. If you have a superior number in manpower, obviously. Ukrainian soldiers have been redeployed from Donbass to the embattled Kharkiv region per the outlet. So that is, they moved from Donbass, right from this area, they have to go that way. And they did. It says Russian forces are taking advantage of Ukraine's manpower shortage to thin out the front line and improve their chances. Okay, by thinning out the front line, you are increasing the odds of a breakthrough. No shit. All right, let's move to the next article, which is the same kind of information. Russia's Kharkiv push aims to stretch Ukraine forces. Analysts, plural. Yeah, but if what was this? Analysts? This expert is a singular here. Why? Unless, I said many times before, these guys, the Ukrainians now, they changed their, how do you call it, enlisting policy, not enlisting, it's called recruiting policy, in which they narrowed the, or made the, let's say, the provisions that will protect people with some disabilities or being considered inapt for military service. From this number of reasons, now they have it. And the same thing with many other ways to get them. People don't want to fight for them. It seems like probably they figured out who's who, what's what. That's one. And the other one probably don't want to fight for Zelensky Stein and his clique. Let's put it this mildly. So yeah, we'll see when those forces are coming, right? The ones that they can recruit. Russia's offensive around Ukraine's Kharkiv likely aims more at presenting Kiev with a strategic quandary over where to deploy its already stretched forces than taking the major city. Moscow's troops were by Monday fighting around 30 villages in the northeast region and had occupied tens of squares of miles in the space in a few days. So that's one. Next one. This is per New Voice of Ukraine. Situation in Kharkiv, and I'm quoting, near critical due to personnel and ammunition shortages, military intel. As I said many times before, you're not going to have enough fingers. You can have the rifles, you don't have the fingers, you can just go home. So again, you can get the ammunition, but if you don't have people, that's equal zero. Ukrainian forces are facing a near critical situation in Kharkiv Oblast due to severe shortages in personnel and ammunition. Ukraine's military intelligence chief Kirill Budanov told the New York Times. Now remember, this guy, Kirill Budanov, that I'm mentioning, Ukraine's military intelligence, he said this during an interview with the New York Times. And he says, this is aiding the advance of the Russian invaders in the area, he said. The situation is on the edge, he said. Every hour the situation is getting closer to critical. So this article is from today. You see, May 14th. So today, and we have the next article, which comes again with Budanov. What does Budanov say? Ukraine's intelligence chief. Situation with the Russian offensive on Kharkiv region has stabilized. So take it easy. The situation with Russian invasion of the Kharkiv region has stabilized. So this is from Ukraine Forum, a Ukrainian media outlet. This one from New Voice of Ukraine, Ukrainian media outlet. So at one point this guy says near critical, and these guys are coming, and he says, yeah, don't worry. And the same date, 14th of May, it has stabilized. Well, you can say, it's stabilized, but we barely hold it. If I were to be Budanov's, let's say, attorney right now, I say, yeah, but you can stabilize it, but you still have a shortage of manpower and ammunition. That makes it critical because we run out of them, and then it's becoming critical, right? Right, Emil. Okay, thank you very much. Smack, right? But anyway, could be. Maybe my interpretation is just a little bit evil here. Kirill Budanov, head of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's main intelligence directorate, said this on Ukrainian television. So this is a different thing. The other one was the New York Times. The phase of the Russian border operation in Kharkiv region is currently underway. It is not true to say that the enemy is having significant success. Say what? Okay, all right, let's go back. At the same time, it should be, I'm quoting, should be remembered that the situation is quite tense, no shit, and dynamic. These are the words when they're losing, these are the terms they use. Changing and very quickly. However, as of yesterday evening, in my opinion is not necessarily based on facts, buddy, there was a rapid trend towards stabilization. Oh, so it's a trend. So they're still fighting. Okay, that is in principle. Well, I know, I don't want in principle. I want in reality. What's going on in principle? Things are nice. The enemy has already been blocked in principle. What the fuck? So instead of talking in real terms and based on the situation on the territory, I'm talking in principle. People should be good and go abstract. Maybe we're gonna start philosophizing, discussing something that we can clearly analyze. Empirically. How many people are over there? How many died? How many miles these guys conquered? How much ammunition we have? How much? That's clearly you have all this data. Don't in principle. See how he goes? Oh, it's in the process of stabilization. In principle, we're winning. Yeah, if you look like it, standing on your tongue or something, then you're gonna see things differently. And in principle, okay. And he is. Remember, he is the Defense Ministry main intelligence director. He's the chief, the head. That's the way he thinks. Maybe that's why he's where he's at. That is, in principle, the enemy has already been blocked. In principle. Okay. At the lines where he was able to enter. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are continuing their operation to ensure further stabilization. So they're not, oh, look at this weasel here. And begin to drive the enemy out of the borders of our country. Okay, so it's make-believe here. As of now, they keep small groups of forces in the border town of Sudza in the Russian Federation, but the situation has not yet allowed them to resort to active operations and start implementing their plan, he added. He says here that the defense forces will be able to do everything that is expected of them. Do not yield to panic. And you say here the what? Near critical? Thank you very much. Now let's go to the next article from Russia Today. Frontline situation on the edge. So obviously the Russia Today picked this article right here from the Voice of Ukraine, which is from New York Times, instead of this guy talking with the Ukrainian media. So let's see what the Russians are saying. Russia may launch another incursion in the northern part of the country this week, Kirill Budanov has told the New York Times. So there it is. And it says here, Ukraine's precarious battlefield position, precarious, like a bed and is not, weak, poor, is set to worsen in the near future, Kiev's military intelligence has warned in an interview with the New York Times. Kirill Budanov described the situation as, and I'm quoting, on the edge, as Russia continues to make territorial gains. So the situation is not, stabilized, but hey, if this guy says so, must be true, right? Let me show you a better map than the one. This is an updated map of the ones that I showed you before, with the northern part of Kharkiv Oblast. And this is an update. Let me just show you 1, 2, 3, PPP. There you have. This is where the Russian incursion. Here is Kharkiv here. And remember this. If it goes south, it's going to meet the boob. That's how I call this right here. It's like a side boob from profile. That's by Kupiansk. So if these guys meet the boob and that, now that's not very good, to say the least, for the Western, for NATO. I'm sorry, for Ukraine. All right, so here it is, my friends. 30,000 fighting out of 50,000. Expected invasion in Sumy Oblast, which is a little bit northwest of right on top of Kharkov. The Russians say they advanced. This guy said, no, it's almost critical, it's bad, his stance is dynamic. And with the other half of the mouth said, we stabilize them in principle. We are in a process of. All right, it's like you have some crime occurring, let's say a rapist and the victim, and he's slowing down. He's stopping. Still happening, is going to go, maybe it's going to accelerate again. You never know. But anyway, the same here. We're fighting. The same is dynamic. The Russians could stop their offensive just like this because, I don't know, the Ukrainians are going to do something special. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.